I'm curious, how do you kind of go and allocate a learning budget for yourself today? What do you invest in those things in? And I know you're someone that's massive on investing in yourself, S&Me and all this stuff.
Yeah. Pick a percentage or pick an amount. I think 5 to 10% is a good amount of your
revenue.
Personal income.
Personal income.
So depending on who you are in the audience, if you're like have a job right now, then I'd say personal income. If you run a company, then I would say of your marketing spend.
Okay.
Right, rather than revenue, because it depends on the margin of the business and whatnot. But 5 to 10% of the marketing spend in a business, I think, should be for crazy and wild ideas, and you do it really just to learn. And the idea is like, a lot of our biggest wins have come from just like crazy experiments, but 9 times out of 10 we lose. But if we don't experiment, we will lose in the long run. And so I see that 5 to 10% is basically long-term insurance that we will continue to stay relevant, continue to innovate, continue to stay on the top of things. And so even though we have the micro losses of not having something perform, we still get the macro win of learning why that didn't perform and then trying to iterate. And then 2 or 3 iterations later, getting something that smashes and then being ahead of the curve for the next 6 months. And that then goes into the 90% of the effort that we put our resources behind. And then we continue to iterate on that 5 to 10%. And I think that I think the team's done an exceptional job. Caleb's done an exceptional job at giving, when I said earlier about giving the personal freedom, like he's also incorporated that so that the team also doesn't get burnt out from doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And is there something that kind of stands out over the last, 6 months that was like, okay, this is a bet we're putting. We're not even sure if this is really going to work out. Like you said, 9 out of 10 probably aren't, but it's something that's like, what's one that stands out that just smashed it?
I'll give you 2. We've invested time into a vlog, which we were like, maybe this will work. I don't know.
It's been going well.
Yeah, it has been going well. But that was like a wild idea. Caleb was like, what if we just follow you around for a day and like make something? I was like, all right, man, I don't know if it's going to be interesting,
He's heard your admiration for the Kardashians and now he's like, all right, let's spin this thing up.
And that was, like there's still reasons that basically there has to be some sort of reason that we think that there's a chance of it working. So it's really just like, can we generalize something that's been successful in one place to our current context? So I don't think anything that we're doing has never been successful before. So I don't want to say like we're that level of innovator. It's just like, okay, there's something that works here. Can we apply it here? And that's probably how we use kind of our thinking process. And if we can understand why it works there, that's where you can understand like the validity, utility. Like what are the things that make it valid in multiple contexts? And if we can apply the right principles, then we can do it our own way and still make it work for us. And so that's why I think the study of this stuff has been really interesting. But the vlog is one. Twitter overall was just a meta experiment. Like the whole thing for me has been a massive experiment platform. Like I tweet stuff all day long just as it comes up. And when people find something interesting, we repurpose the hell out of it.
Yep.
They become Instagram posts, they become shorts, and if we have, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 that do really well around a specific topic, then that becomes a long YouTube video. And so, all of those are just micro experiments. And I think if you can create a place where you have low risk to experiment, you should lean into that as much as possible. And one thing I just want to close the loop earlier that I forgot to say, for the people who are getting into making content, I would say decrease friction to the absolute highest degree possible. So if you like doing podcasts, or like you want to be behind a mic, but you don't want to be in front of a camera, then start there. If you're like, I'm great on camera, but I don't like interviewing, cool, then start there. If you like writing, then start there. So there's a lot of different mediums that you can start on. Start with the one that comes most naturally to you. And I like to think about getting outsized returns on things by getting more for what I put in. So the ideal scene is I change nothing and I get more from it. And so if I'm already doing certain things, like the vlog works, like I already work. And so if we can now get something from that, my behavior doesn't change at all. I just now get more out of it, which is super high leverage. And so thinking about it from that framework of what are all the things I'm currently doing, and really like looking at your calendar and saying, okay, what are literally all the things that I do? Are there any of these things or periods of time or days of the week that I currently have tasks that other people might find interesting? And I think asking your team might be helpful, because a lot of times we don't have as much, like I don't think a lot of my stuff is interesting. Literally on the way here, Jason and I were talking and he was like, I'm really glad we did yesterday, because I had a whole meetings day yesterday. And at the end of yesterday, I was like, I don't know if we got anything, man. And he was like, oh no, dude, there were 6 different moments throughout the day that were like awesome that we're going to clip out and do stuff with. And I was like, cool. Well, I was just working. So it was high return for me. So I think if you don't try and start a media business, try and put a media business around your life as it currently stands and change as few things as possible. And then if you are going to change something or add something to your schedule, you better have a damn good reason to know that you're going to get a return on it, because you're not adding things to your plate, which I take really very seriously.
Yeah. And I think it's that frame shift of going from, I got to create this new thing. I got to make this new thing, that kind of shiny toy vibe, to moving more to, I'm just going to document what I'm already doing. Because there's got to be, like you said, either me 3 years ago that would have really been admired, what I'm doing now, and to get a lot of lessons from this.
Let me add nuance to that, because I think it's important. I think people misunderstand it. When we say document, don't create, first off, I think Gary was the first person to say that.
Yep.
But document doesn't necessarily mean have somebody follow you around with a videotape all day, because a lot of you guys have really boring lives and no one wants to watch it. All right, I'm just being really real with you. But you can document in other formats. And I talk about this in the $100 Million Leads book, which is look at your calendar and think, okay, what were the lessons from this week? You can still, crystallize or create an artifact from the week that consolidates a week's worth of stuff into 10 minutes that will be valuable. So thinking like, how can I distill things that happen? So you're still documenting. It doesn't mean you have to just capture it in real time.
Yeah.
And so I think having a method for documenting. So for me, Twitter is my actual document. Is that something happens. So like, if you ever want to know like what mood I'm in,